Hello, everybody, and welcome to In Session with EstroHaze. Today we have the lovely fortune of engaging in conversation with none other than
Patricia A. Patton, aka Cannaboomer.
absolutely.
Yes.
Welcome.
Oh, and Cannaboomer is a long-standing, not even fan, but loved one of EstroHaze. She's been a contributor of ours. We've had a great relationship, flourishing relationship with Cannaboomer. So when we decided to have this Boomer talk, we couldn't think of anybody else to have this conversation with than Cannaboomer herself. So let's just come right into the conversation to talk about boomers and cannabis.
So let's just kick this off. Tell us a little bit about your specific cannabis journey. How did you arrive to cannabis?
Well, I am, I guess you'd say, a future trend type person. I'm also a baby boomer who will probably outlive her retirement money. And so I've been an entrepreneur really since I started work. But it wasn't until 15 years ago that I had the courage to leave my 9-to-5 job to actually get into the entrepreneurial field. So I started initially as a health and wellness entrepreneur with a beachside business, which didn't work because I was ahead of time in the town that I live in, which is Asbury Park, New Jersey. I couldn't compete with the hamburgers selling wheatgrass and smoothies, what have you. But what that did was it took me into social media full-fledged because I was trying to develop an audience. And so under the realm of health and wellness, I was watching cannabis, come into the market, And I was also following conversation about opportunities. I thought there might be fewer gatekeepers. I thought that my age, would not, that I'd be able to move through or slip in or find a wormhole or something to talk to people like myself who are interested in cannabis as we age. And you guys were actually the ones who gave me my break. I was watching you guys when you made your move from Black Enterprise. And when you were in Boston, I thought, well, wait a minute, they're gonna create a platform, a multicultural platform. Maybe I can talk to my segment of the market on their platform, and you guys let me in.
Tell us a little bit about your experience as a consumer and an advocate, like on both sides of the coin.
Well, okay, I dropped out of college. I'm from Seattle. I was born in Seattle. So I dropped out of the university the summer after the Summer of Love in San Francisco, and I moved to San Francisco. So I was in San Francisco when a lot of things were going on, basically naive, but, really trying to make my way in the world because I was not yet fully grown. I was still in my teens, And so I had experiences as a consumer there in the seeds and stem era. Some were good. There was a time as a consumer when you could smoke with anyone. Yeah. And then that changed, over time as LSD, came into play where, you really didn't know what was going on, or you'd wind up weird somewhere.
Wind up weird.
You don't want to wind up weird somewhere.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that was really the deal. And, I think I was somewhat conflicted about, my own dreams. I was on my way to New York. San Francisco was just a pit stop. And I sort of got real in terms of having to make my way in the world where I had to follow the rules. So initially, smoking or being a consumer was about freedom, and I think to some extent that is the way the millennials feel today, But if you're 55 and you have a job where you can be tested, you have other considerations, and it has nothing to do with whether you are pro or con.
Do you think that's the biggest hesitation? Sorry,
No, please.
With those 55 and older for jumping in there and starting to consume? Is it like the
I
work?
think it is real. If you have a job where people test you or where people can use that against you,
Yes.
you know, it's a consideration.
Yes.
You know, I was watching the documentary with Fat Five Freddy the other night, and I was looking at some of the musicians who were talking about, you know, I've been smoking for 70 years or whatever, but they were outside the mainstream. You know, you made a decision to create your life in a different way. But if you were inside the mainstream where it could be used against you, then you have other decisions to make.
So if you think if it couldn't be used against you, so if you couldn't be tested for work, do you think a lot more boomers would be more vocal about their usage of that?
I mean, we live under, I mean, we have lived through a period of freedom, but at the same time, you know, it's sort of a schizophrenia about, you know, where we're coming from. I mean, part of the survival technique, if you were born in the 50s or 60s even, you know, is that, you know, you keep your business to yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, no, I can't have pictures, you know, smoking a blunt. And,
Yeah.
No.
So does the war on drugs have any bearing on boomers' hesitation to
The war on
come out-
drugs has everything to do with it.
Yes.
Because essentially the war on drugs tied drugs to bad behavior, to illegality, you know, anything could be used against you. And I mean, it's just, I mean, we all know that the war on drugs is strictly racism, you know. But if I went to law school and I am a judge, you know, I mean, I have friends who are judges, doctors, whatever, but you're not going to see them smoking or yakking even about what's up.
So how do you then help to change the narrative and bring more people into the industry, whether it's just for medical, strict medicinal purposes, or if they're looking for career opportunities?
I think that what has to happen, and what I have been trying to do, is to find a platform to kind of talk about it in a way that people can understand that in fact, you know, this in and of itself is just colonialism. You know, like your mind has been messed with, you know, so, you know,
Absolutely.
it's all a function of politics and being manipulated. So now, if you could think clearly, you know, of your own volition, what would your decision mean? And, you know, if you start thinking about, okay, I'm aging, I have inflammation that's showing up as fibromyalgia, as arthritis, joint pain, and these are not things that are purely associated with aging, but they are, you know, they show up as you age.
Right.
Or if you're an athlete, or you know, what have you. But if that is the case, then maybe you want to know what your options are. Maybe you don't want to be on prednisone. Maybe you don't want to be on Ambien to sleep, you know. Maybe you want to make other decisions about how to be healthy, you know, and how to live. Yeah, look at it this way. If you are 40 years old now, it's highly likely that you will live to be 100, you know. If you're 65, which of course I passed, it's highly likely that you'll live to be 87, 90 years old. So don't you want those years to be of high quality? And don't you want to be able to make, you know, decisions that will make you feel better? I think that if you can explain it to people that, for example, this is not addictive, you know, or this is not more harmful to you than 5 Tylenol a day.
Right.
You know, people will make other decisions.
Do you have any personal anecdotes? Like, how did you are surrounded by judges and attorneys and these, so how did you yourself come out of the closet, or just to get loud and proud and to want to write about it and want to be in the forefront of this within your circle, within your communities, within your community as a boomer? What made you empowered to to just say, you know what, forget the stigma, the code of privacy that our generation tends to
Right.
keep. Despite all that, I'm going to still voice this. Why? How?
Well, okay. Couple reasons. One is that goes back to just really the economics of it. You know, I mean, the economics of it are such that, you know, I have a 3 to 5 year plan. You know, and entrepreneurially, you know, I want to create something that I could sell. You know, for my legacy, you know, for my grandsons and soon to be granddaughter, you know. And at the same time, I want to see myself in the market. You know, I want to help change the attitude about aging, you know, so that when you think of aging, you don't necessarily think of someone who is in pain, you know. I mean, I listen to young women talk, I think they're in more pain.
How so?
I think on some level, younger people, you know, like, okay, I have a son who's you guys' age. So, you know, so on a lot of levels, I did everything I could, you know, to make the way better for him, you know. And I think to some extent, that has made you guys like a whole nother kind. People.
A whole nother kind. Whole nother kind.
Well, no, I'm just saying, okay, you know, I didn't want him to struggle,
Yeah.
you know, in the same way that I had. So just like your parents, like, you know, you
Yeah.
kind of did what you could do, you know, to make that not happen. And plus, we told you guys, like, you could do whatever you want.
Yes.
Like, you could do what you want. Like, you don't have to do
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
right? So you feel free enough to express yourself in the way that you're living now,
Yeah.
even. So I think it's important that I tell my own story.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, I think it's important that I tell my own story. I just can't leave it to, I can't, even though I agree with much of what feminists and women say, I can't leave it to them to tell the story because they're absent the perspective. You know, they have the experience, but they don't have the perspective to add into that. So I think that's why it's important to have intergenerational conversations.
So do you have a preferred method?
That's
You remember?
Well, here's what's funny about that. Okay, I was interviewing Faith Popcorn. Like, she used to be one of my, you know, like, I thought she was cool, you know, with the whole. And she said to me, well, what's your preferred way of consuming? And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? You know, because at the time, I didn't know. Right? I didn't know there were transdermal patches. I didn't know there were suppositories.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were vape pens. I didn't know
Yeah.
that there were tinctures, you know. And, you know, it's even, you know, going to some of the meetings, you know, like on the Rebel or whatever, you know, where you get like a grab bag. I didn't know. I was like, what am I going to do with this? What is this thing?
Yeah.
You know, the fact that I'm not embarrassed to not know, you know, I believe in, you know, I've made my way in the world. So I know I can cut down forests and figure out things. So that's what I'm doing now, because half the stuff is going on, I don't know. So my preferred way is, right now it's tinctures.
Okay.
You know, it's tinctures and gummies.
Okay.
And the whole thing is, I mean, this is in New York, so here's the age thing again.
Okay.
So in New Jersey, where I live, recreational is not legal. Okay? I can't have nobody over my shoulder. Can't.
Really?
You know?
Yeah.
I can't be like, what's in my purse? You know?
Yeah.
I ain't going to jail. And I don't want to be embarrassed.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So, you know, it's like, going to California, New Jersey, we'll have to get it together.
Do you get any questions from other boomers, you know, who are curious, and are there any common questions that keep coming up, and any that you're tired of answering?
Well, I don't feel so tired of answering them because I haven't really had that many platforms to really speak to.
Okay.
I don't really have a platform yet to speak to baby boomers. I've noticed that there are, in the last maybe 30 to 45 days, there have been a spate of articles on baby boomers and but again, when I look at the people who are talking about us, they're talking about us in a way that doesn't represent us for me. To me, they don't really represent us. You know, if you Google baby boomer, you come up with, you know, two old people walking down the street like this, you know. I mean, you don't see people who are riding bikes or playing tennis or, you know, traveling or black. You know, I'm interested in changing that.
Are these things which are absolutely valid, you know, from your perspective, are these things that come up from other boomers you see? Like,
yeah, people call me all the time. Now that I'm out,
Yeah, interesting.
you know, people call
now
me
that
out.
you're out.
You know,
Now that you're
out.
out.
That you're out.
Yeah. Now that I'm out, people call me all the time. You know, I mean, really, and people write me all the time. Now people write me like, oh, you know, I'd love to collaborate, you know, or, okay, so I posted the other day something that I got from 420 Skincare, and a person I won't name asked me if they soaked in that CBD dust, whether or not they could come clean in a test. I didn't know the exact answer, but everybody asked me that. If you know,
They want to know.
you know, like just with the creams or whatever, is it going to show up in my bloodstream, or am I going to be able to use that, or what? People want to know, or I have young people call me and tell me that their parents are suffering from early stage dementia. How can they talk to their parents about, you know, what's going on, since they won't listen to the doctor, they won't do this or that. I have people who call me and ask me, someone called me the other day, they finally got their hands on some THC cream that was, I think, 3-to-1 THC to CBD that actually was helping their mother, and they needed more. So, you know, like, I could be a dealer.
Yeah.
I bet.
So I mean, so then the question is, how do I get it? You know, can I order it across lines, or what is, you know, how can I get that? People also want to know, you know, will they become addicted? You know, it's like people ask me, but won't I become addicted if I smoke or whatever? You know, there are a number of things that people want to know just about how will I feel, or like I'm interested in doing like a high level infused dinner, which I haven't done yet. You know, a meal. People want to know, well, if I eat a lollipop, will I be able to find my way home?
You touched on kids calling you and asking you about, like, how can they help their parents, or how can they talk to their parents about, you know, things that could be beneficial to them that might be cannabis products. What do you say to them about how they can have these conversations with their family, their loved ones?
Well, I mean, I think that if you're already open, you know, about your own, you know, indulgence, consumption rather, I think that what you probably should do is just begin by trying to educate them and not telling them this is what you should do.
Okay.
Yes,
You
that's
know?
fair.
You know, because the thing is, even though you love them and it may be the right thing for them to do, everybody has to make their own decision. I mean, everybody says cannabis is personal. So everybody has to make their own decision about that. But sometimes if people, you know, understand really why, not just that you love them, but how it might be better, then they may be more open to it. And then maybe you want to, you know, not try to ask them to smoke a joint.
Right. Exactly. I think
Exactly.
That's,
Just
that's
because-
key.
What
That's
have
key.
you found
Yes.
to be the easiest method for
Introduction.
transitioning someone into cannabis?
Yes.
What, for boomers, what have you found to be the most welcoming are the most
Well, I mean,
welcome
I can
method.
only use myself, you know?
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm saying that I am sort of flower adverse because I need my lungs.
I hear you.
You know? I mean, it's like I need my lungs the rest of the way.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that I would never do it, but in terms of a preferred method of consumption, I tend to walk away from that. And then I also, because of the whole crack epidemic, like I'm adverse to the bongs. Like the whole thing with the bongs and stuff, I'm like,
Yeah.
Yes,
you
the
know,
stigma.
the
It's
stigma.
just-
like it's like a whole
entrenched,
thing,
yeah.
like it's weird.
So
Yes, it's
psychological.
weird.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
just in the head.
psychological.
It's in the
Yeah.
head.
You know, I mean, I understand that, but it's real.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that if you wanted to share the experience with someone you loved who maybe is adverse to it or resistant, you know, besides just kind of sharing, you know, say information from someone that they respect, like me, or no, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding, or
Obviously.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, or you know,
Yes,
someone
yes,
like that.
Of course.
I think that would help. You know, that you
Right.
might want to just share a gummy, or you might want to share a mint, or a piece of chocolate, or you know, just something that would ease them into it and help them not feel like they were doing something wrong.
Can you talk a little bit about your book? You wrote a book.
Oh, that's what I meant to do.
Well, after we pulled up the video, if someone wanted to.
Yeah. No, so basically what I decided to do is to start an ebook series
Okay.
called Asking for a Friend.
Okay.
So that's the whole
I love that
series. So I just did the initial
I
one.
love it.
Asking
I
for a
just-
friend.
that's so great.
I
I
love that.
love it.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
thank
perfect.
you.
That's
Asking
perfect.
for a friend.
That's perfect.
Asking
Yes.
for a
Perfect.
friend. Because everybody's always asking for a friend.
Right.
So
And you asking for
remember,
yourself, but no, you asking for.
But okay.
Yeah, you're
catch, girl. What you want to know?
Okay, so the first piece that I wrote for you guys, I took the picture of myself with my head
Love
you
it.
know, on
Yeah.
the train, right? So basically I wasn't showing my face.
Yes.
And then after I came to Denver, and I met you guys in Denver at the Women Grow thing, I was like, look at this. You know, like,
Look at this.
Look at this.
look at this.
Yes, all these women.
Yeah,
all
look
these
at all
women.
this, you know?
Yeah.
So then I just started trying to educate myself, you know, and I mean, to me, I don't know that you can ever be a true expert because so much is changing.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready and willing to pivot,
Yeah.
you know, as things change. You can't necessarily be wed to one thing. So that's why I see you guys doing that. It's pivoting. I love it. So, yeah, I decided to address the questions that people were asking me quietly, you know, and to talk about, like, you know, people want to know, like, well, what do I do if I go to a dispensary? You know, like, how can I get what I need? And I know
Yes.
from having visited Simply Pure in Denver that if I, for example, want to talk to a bud tender about intimacy, that may be a problem. You know, I mean, because I tried, and he was looking at me like, I don't want to talk to you about that lady.
Yeah, that's
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, in terms of an aging woman, a menopausal woman, I mean, these are things that we need somebody to talk to.
yes.
You know, I mean, if the plant is the plant, maybe they can help us. You know, and we need to know how. And we need somebody who can talk to us about that. So, next one that's coming is I don't want to get high and I don't want to go to jail. Ooh, that's
I love it.
You just,
I love it.
You have these. You have
The name,
together.
I mean, the titles
love
are
it.
just
I don't want to
yeah.
get high.
And I don't want to go to jail.
Shoot. That's for Sunday service.
But yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, it's counterintuitive because in truth,
Yeah.
they want to get high.
Yes.
If they don't want to go to
they
jail, they
don't
still don't
wanna
want to go to jail.
Yes.
Yes. So is that a little secret to you? Do they really want to get high? You know, they're like oftentimes.
Well, I
they
know.
There's no secret to it.
Yeah.
think, is that
Yeah.
do boomers want to get high, or do they just want the medicinal benefits minus the effects?
no,
the
no,
high
no,
effects?
no,
They
no.
wanna
I
get
mean,
Do they want both?
high?
They
Do
want, yeah, they want both.
Yes.
We want both.
Yeah, we want
Right.
both. See,
Yeah,
that's
I
important.
mean, no,
That is
no,
important.
no. I mean, the thing is, I have friends who are in their 70s who, psychologists or whatever, never stopped getting high.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so everybody didn't run and hide.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but by the same token, either they have taken steps to either have a medical card or, you know, it's their personal life.
Yeah.
You know, and pretty much only engaged in private parties or whatever, not publicly. And so I'm saying that yes, you want to address any inflammation or any sort of imbalance, or you just want to live a richly textured, resilient life. And
Yes.
if the plant can help us do that, I think that people should have the ability to make that decision.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can essentially make that argument to anybody who's lived long enough, and they're going to tell you, yeah, they do. You know, I mean, maybe how they get to the point where you're able to incorporate it into their life is different, or may vary from one place to the other, or maybe, you know, it's just that they're in a room with someone once it's legal where that it's happening, and you find out that not everybody's cuckoo crazy, or you're partying with people. I mean, what's the difference? You know, some people drink too much wine and they're not good, you know,
Absolutely.
company,
Yes.
and it can happen with anything.
You know, what are your thoughts about parenting and cannabis? Because that's a big topic of discussion. We've talked about it. You know, we've had articles that really prompted a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts just as far as being a grandmother? You know, if your, you know, son also used cannabis as far as parenting, or if you know people who do that, like, what are your thoughts about that?
I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, I think that, if you are a person who lives on the margin and has difficulty when it comes to addictive behavior, okay? It doesn't matter really whether it's wine, it's drugs, it's, you know, inappropriate conversations with people, or, you know, or you take things personally. I mean, all of that is sort of a addictive practice,
Right.
you know? So when it comes to parenting, I think that whether you engage in drinking bourbon or smoking a joint or whatever, your kids come first. So you're not going to impair yourself in a way that negatively affects your family. You know, and I know people who smoke openly with their children in the house or whatever. I mean, at some point in time, I certainly allowed Taj to have wine, you know, well before he went into the streets, because I didn't want, we traveled, we were in France, so we're having wine, so, you know, yeah, you can have a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't like I was saying, I want you to do this.
Yeah.
You know, my thing is that I think that you should be who you are with your children. I think that says it all. I think you should be who you truly are. I don't think that you should pretend to be somebody that you are not.
So as we kind of round this out, I would like to ask you, you know, you said that you don't have a platform right now. Like, I know your book series is a platform for you to get information out to, you know, other boomers, but what are 3 kind of essential things that you would like to convey?
I think the main thing is that you have to remain open. One of the problems of aging is that you have a tendency toward rigidity, you know, because you've learned and you know what you know. So then you don't want to fall and you don't want to make mistakes, and you feel like, I don't want to make no new friends, I don't want to try anything new. You know, like what's happening is working, and that kind of thing. So I think that you have to, in all aspects of your life, you have to work against the tendency to be rigid or to be tight, and that's, you know, you want to control things. So, and if that is the case, then you would be open to the changing landscape that plant medicine, that recreational medicine, however you approach it, you know, but essentially know that Cannabis really is succeeding technology, that if you're going to live, and everybody's planning on living,
Yeah.
so
I hope so, right?
So my goals are.
So if you're planning on living, and if you're like a person like me, a baby boomer, an older person, you know, understand that your money may run out and you may live longer than that. So you may have to work and you may not be able to get a job at CVS, or you may not be able to get a job at Whole Foods. You may have to use what you learned in your house. You know, you may have to learn and use how to hustle. You know, using the gifts that you have, and you have to then be able to translate those into the new economy. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, you know, is to translate my gifts into the new economy, you know. But that was 2, and the third one is probably, just get high.
And that, what a way to.
So I want to cheers.
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 Cheers. Ah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.